In a world ruled by war and betrayal, there existed warriors so silent and deadly that history almost forgot they were real. Across the misty highlands of ancient Japan, where dawn light crept slowly through dense forests and mountain ridges cast long blue shadows across the land, an unseen transformation was unfolding. In these remote places, far from the refined courts of Kyoto and the battle-scarred fields ruled by samurai lords, a different kind of warrior began to take shape. They did not carry themselves like noble fighters or seek honor through grand duels. Instead, they embraced the silence of the night, the obscurity of the forest, and the secrecy woven into the land itself. Their world was one of hidden trails, concealed shelters, coded messages, and survival strategies unique to the rugged terrain of the Iga and Koga regions. Life in these isolated provinces was not easy. Families lived under the constant threat of powerful warlords who attempted to seize control of every valley, road, and riverbank they could dominate. The geography offered some protection: dense forests, steep cliffs, and narrow paths. But even nature could not shield them from the ambitions of those who sought to expand their domains. For generations, the villagers developed methods of survival that gradually evolved into strategic arts unlike anything practiced by the traditional samurai. Their techniques blended observation, deception, mobility, and clever engineering. What had started as a means to protect their homes and resources slowly became a refined skill set passed down through families. From these circumstances, the shinobi were born. Individuals trained to accomplish tasks no regular soldier could attempt. Their rise coincided with one of the most turbulent chapters in Japanese history, the Sengoku era. This was a time when the nation fractured into warring states, each led by ambitious lords. Armies clashed endlessly, alliances shifted without warning, and betrayal was as common as warfare itself. In this chaotic environment, information became as valuable as weapons. Armies needed scouts who could slip into enemy territory without being noticed. Leaders needed messengers who could travel through dangerous regions unrecognized. Sabotage, covert raids, and psychological tactics often determined the outcome of battles before swords were ever drawn. It was during this era that the ninja became indispensable. Unlike the samurai, who followed a very strict code and sought victory through courage and open combat, the shinobi embraced subtlety. They understood that a battle could be won long before the first arrow was launched if the right information reached the right ears. They studied guard patterns, intercepted messages, disguised themselves as travelers or laborers, and slipped through cracks in the enemy's defenses. Their work was not about glory, it was about results. Many of the most influential leaders of the era secretly employed them, despite publicly condemning such tactics. It was an open secret that everyone needed them, yet no one openly acknowledged their role. Families in Iga and Koga formed networks of shinobi clans, some small and discreet, others large and interconnected. Each group refined its own techniques, creating a diverse set of skills. Children grew up learning things that seemed ordinary in their environment, but were extraordinary anywhere else. Crossing rivers with minimal noise, moving across unstable surfaces without triggering traps, and vanishing into thickets in the blink of an eye. They learned to study people as carefully as they studied terrain, observing habits, intentions, and weaknesses that could be exploited if necessary. Training was not simply about physical ability, it was about developing a different way of seeing the world. A young shinobi learned that danger might hide behind a friendly gesture or within the silence between footsteps. They were taught to remain calm in moments of fear, to slow their breathing when hiding, and to trust their instincts when navigating unfamiliar territory. By mastering the art of disguise, they could become anyone: a merchant carrying goods, a monk seeking shelter, a lost farmer asking for directions, or even an entertainer performing harmless tricks. Through these identities, they gathered the information that shaped the battles of feudal Japan. Their equipment reflected their philosophy. While samurai prized beautifully crafted swords, shinobi carried tools designed to adapt to countless situations. Their straight blades could cut through ropes, pry open wooden panels, and serve as climbing aids. A simple length of rope might become a restraint, a snare, or a grappling tool. Hollowed eggs filled with irritants could distract enemies long enough for escape. Shuriken, small star-shaped blades, were used primarily to cause confusion or create opportunities rather than as lethal projectiles. Every tool had multiple uses because a shinobi could never predict what challenge awaited them. Stories of their missions circulated quietly across the land. Many were exaggerated over time, but their core truths demonstrated the creativity and intelligence behind shinobi operations. One such account tells of a lone infiltrator who slipped into a heavily guarded fortress by posing as a singer offering entertainment to weary soldiers. His melodies drew little suspicion, and while performing he memorized the structure of the compound, where food was stored, how guards rotated, and which corridors remained unpatrolled. When he left, he carried nothing more than a seemingly harmless instrument, yet the knowledge he gained allowed his employer to win a decisive victory days later. Another tale describes a team of shinobi who infiltrated an encampment under the guise of laborers collecting firewood. Instead of striking anyone directly, they targeted the infrastructure. By applying oil to structural beams and subtly weakening supports, they used the environment itself as their weapon. When natural forces like heavy rain or strong winds hit the camp, chaos erupted. Tents collapsed, storage areas failed, and enemy morale plummeted. Not a single sword was drawn by the infiltrators, yet the results were devastating. Psychological tactics were among their most powerful tools. Sometimes they left misleading footprints to make an army believe they were being watched. Sometimes they spread rumors through merchants' routes, convincing commanders to distrust their own advisors. In a society where honor and reputation held tremendous influence, even a whisper could alter the decisions of powerful leaders. The shinobi understood human behavior deeply. They knew how fear traveled faster than arrows and how suspicion could paralyze even the bravest soldiers. The involvement of shinobi in the affairs of famous warlords elevated their status in history, though often behind the scenes. Oda Nobunaga, a fearsome leader with ambition sharper than any blade, waged relentless campaigns against regions that resisted his authority, including Iga. His assaults nearly wiped out some shinobi groups, yet he also recognized their value and used their talents when it benefited his strategies. Tokugawa Ieyasu, who would later unify Japan under a central government, relied heavily on the assistance of shinobi, especially those connected to the legendary Hattori Hanzo. Hanzo's reputation for both loyalty and unmatched skill became almost mythical, and his influence in aiding Ieyasu during dangerous transitions played a significant role in shaping Japan's future. While samurai often criticized shinobi for lacking honor, even they could not deny the impact these operatives had on survival and strategy. As Japan entered a more stable era under Tokugawa rule, open warfare declined. Peace, however, brought new challenges. With fewer battles to fight, the shinobi found their roles changing. Instead of infiltrating enemy camps, many served as covert protectors, guards of important routes, or unrecognized agents ensuring domestic security. Some taught their skills to a select few, preserving traditions through secret writings and family lessons. Scrolls detailing techniques, observations, and principles were guarded closely, passed down like ancient treasures. Still, the need for large networks of covert operatives faded with time, and villages once known for training, shinobi slowly blended into ordinary life. As the centuries passed, the mystique surrounding the ninja grew larger than their actual historical presence. Travelers from other countries brought back stories that sounded unbelievable. Men who vanished into thin air, warriors who walked on water with mysterious tools, figures dressed entirely in black slipping across rooftops under the moon. These fantastical details blended with real practices like using shadows for concealment or employing lightweight devices to cross difficult terrain. The line between reality and myth blurred, and people began to imagine shinobi as supernatural beings. The idea of a completely black outfit, for instance, came not from historical reality, but from theater performances, where stagehands dressed in black to signify invisibility. Over time, the look became associated with ninja culture. Despite exaggerated portrayals, the true abilities of the shinobi remain impressive. They mastered techniques that required discipline, patience, and creativity, skills applicable far beyond the battlefield. Their knowledge of plants and natural poisons made them resourceful in survival. Their understanding of weather allowed them to plan missions around fog, rain, or wind, using nature as an ally. They mapped regions carefully, leaving behind a legacy of geographic awareness. They mimicked animals to communicate discreetly or distract guards. Their work was a blend of physical agility, mental sharpness, and deep environmental understanding. By the time the Edo period reached its later centuries, shinobi activity had become quieter, almost invisible. Their influence, however, did not disappear. Elements of their practices resurfaced in military strategies, espionage techniques, and even modern survival training. Their legacy became embedded in Japan's cultural memory, not through loud declarations, but through subtle traces. Stories passed down through generations, forgotten notes in old scrolls, and skills preserved by descendants who honored their ancestors' knowledge. Modern fascination with ninjas took on a life of its own. Literature and theater romanticized them, while movies and anime expanded their legends into realms of fantasy. Characters inspired by ancient shinobi combined real stealth techniques with fictional powers, capturing the imagination of audiences worldwide. These portrayals often deviated from historical accuracy, but they carried forward the essence of what made the shinobi significant, the idea that intelligence, adaptability, and subtlety could overcome overwhelming odds. Even today, walking through the forests of Iga or the hills of Koga feels like stepping into a living memory. The quiet trails, hidden streams, and abandoned fortifications hint at stories long forgotten yet deeply rooted in the landscape. The chirping of insects, the rustle of bamboo, and the distant sound of flowing water evoke the atmosphere in which young shinobi once trained. It is easy to imagine the presence of a silent observer perched in a tree, scanning the horizon for signs of risk, or a messenger slipping through the underbrush with critical information tucked away. The rise of the ninja clan represents far more than the emergence of assassins skilled in concealment. It symbolizes how ordinary people, shaped by extraordinary circumstances, developed abilities that allowed them to endure and influence events far larger than themselves. Their approach to conflict emphasized strategy over brute force, observation over aggression, and patience over impulsive action. Their methods challenged traditional ideas about warfare and demonstrated that even the most powerful opponents could be outmaneuvered through knowledge, planning, and adaptability. Their story is one of survival, of communities resisting domination through intelligence and innovation. It is a reminder that strength comes in many forms, not always visible on the surface. The shinobi learned to thrive in uncertainty, to read the world with heightened awareness, and to turn adversity into opportunity. Their techniques were born from necessity, refined through dedication, and remembered because of their effectiveness. While their world no longer exists as it once did, their legacy remains woven into history. In every retelling, whether through historical research or artistic imagination, the spirit of the shinobi endures, a symbol of resilience, cunning, and the enduring power of the unseen. Their rise was not marked by grand monuments or official chronicles, but by shadows moving silently across Japan's turbulent past, shaping outcomes in ways only those who lived in secrecy truly understood. The story of the ninja continues to fascinate because it speaks to something universal. It reminds us that even in the darkest conditions, creativity and adaptability can illuminate a path forward. It shows that quiet determination can challenge overwhelming power. It reveals how those who operate outside traditional boundaries can change the world in profound ways. And though centuries have passed, the lessons embodied by the shinobi remain timeless. To walk in the footsteps of these silent warriors is to understand that every whisper of wind through the trees carries echoes of their legacy. Their presence lingers in the culture, in the imagination, and in the enduring fascination with those who mastered the art of moving unseen. In every tale of daring infiltration, every story of cunning sabotage, and every depiction of a lone figure slipping into the night, the ancient spirit of the ninja clan lives on, silent, watchful, and unforgettable.